50-50. We don't expect him to be out too long. It all depends with Georgie's just discomfort, really, Rob. It was a kick on the foot, so it's a bruising on the foot, really. So it's just reducing that bruising, and as and when he's happy with making contact on the ball and putting his weight on it. So that'll be down to the player.
And with Reece James, how serious is it, and how long is he going to be out for you?
Yeah, Reece James is going to be out for a few weeks because obviously he sustained a little bit of ankle ligament damage. So he's going to be a few weeks, Reece. We can't really judge it yet because it's too early to give a real time scale. It's still too early, but so at the moment I've got to use the term weeks, really.
How disappointing is that? Because he's just been so solid for you, hasn't he, for a number of weeks now?
Yeah, he has been, and it's it's a disappointing one to lose him because he has just been that, really, in terms of what he brings us, the versatility that he brings us, and so to lose him at this stage. But as I said, Rob, all along, these things have these little hiccups in the season, and it's how you respond to them and how you move forward from them.
How critical is it then to get some defenders in, and is anything close?
Yeah, there's nothing close at the moment in terms of getting anybody in, because the first thing I always do is try and utilise the squad as best as I can, which is what we're doing. And but also there's always a one eye on potential what's out there and what's available to us at the time, and the competition that we're faced with at the time, because everybody's looking to strengthen for different reasons, and we're no different. But so what I've got to just do is make sure that I look within our own ranks here at the club and making sure that we're utilising everybody as best as possible.
So are you still comfortable with the options you've got? You said in the past you wanted to assess your squad and you felt like you'd got a few options, but then when you lose McGuinness and you lose James to injury, it does sort of hit the depth a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and last week, you know, when we lost McGuinness and Myton, others had to step in at Wickham, and this week we've lost we've lost Reece and potentially George, and if that's the case, others have got to step up again and step into it. Whoever steps in knows what's expected of them, and it's just about keeping our own focus and our own momentum going.
The two other teams that are with you right at the top of the league, Darren, Ipswich and Plymouth, have been splashing the cash a bit in this transfer window. Have you got some money to go out and make a permanent signing if the right player was there?
I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no, Rob. What I am just saying is that where I'm looking at the squad, if I felt there was a player out there of value, then obviously I would present that to the chairman. But at the moment, I don't see that at this moment in time. What I am just doing is making sure that I'm focusing on the team where we got now. You know, a lot of our business was done in the summer, and ultimately that business has carried us through till now. Obviously, with some of that business and personnel we brought in got injured and have sustained injuries. Maybe we're just looking at the depth of the squad, really, more than anything. I think that's the bit, really, in terms of it. I've been really happy in terms of who we recruited in the summer and how versatile we've been with the squad, in terms of, even though we've had smaller numbers from last season, we've been quite versatile, but also at the same time that versatility will get tested beyond now. I think the biggest thing is making sure is that looking at us where we're at this transfer window is making sure that when we come out of it, we've got to look at the depth of the squad and make sure that we've got strength in numbers, because once the window's closed, it's closed, and you've got to get on with what you've got to get on with. And though we've managed up until now, we've got to be really careful that when the window closes, we make sure that we've got adequate cover and sufficient players in the positions that we need.
One player who has been connected to you is Michael Hector. He's been reported as an option. He's not played for a long time, but he is a free agent. Is he somebody that you are considering?
Yeah, we can look at him. I don't see any reason why. You've touched on it, that he's a free agent player out there. So he's somebody that I believe that's played here. He's somebody that I came with a visiting team a number of years ago at West Brom when he was playing here. He's somebody of a good age, good experience, and there's a potential platform here that if it ticks the right boxes, then I don't see why not. So at the moment, it's an opportunity for us to look at him, to see him, and that's exactly what we're doing.
So is he coming in for a bit of training, Darren, just spending a bit of time with the team? Is that what he's doing at the minute?
He's been in already, Rob. He's in already.
Right. So have you got a time scale on that? Are you just going to take this?
No,
quite steady.
Yeah, just take it steady. Yeah, that's exactly that. Just take it steady and have a look. And as I said, it's great to see him and give him the platform. But he's been in already. Yeah.
And another name that's been mentioned is Luke McNally at Burnley. Has the club made an inquiry for him, Darren?
No, I mean, he's another one that's been circulated and linked with us. Another. I could see why people would try and put two and two together with that one, because obviously knowing that's a potential position that we're looking at with the injuries, and obviously Mark going back to his club. So I can see why people are searching high and wide for potential central defenders. That could be possible replacements to come in. But as I said, until we really firm in and hone in on one that we feel's right, then we carry on working with what we've got. As I said to you, we're working with what we've got. And Michael's come into the building this week and been training with us. So we're really happy in terms of that, and continue to make sure that we're giving a good account of ourselves.
Just finally on Michael, how is his fitness? Because people will wonder that. It's been such a long time since he played. I mean, have you been impressed with what you've seen, or is he going to need a bit of time, do you think?
I've been happy with what I've seen, but obviously we're doing our own fitness data, strengthening work and everything else, which we need to sufficiently tick off really in terms of us before we move into that stage. And at the moment he's very much into that very early stage. It's great to see him. He looks in good condition, but obviously, as we know, football fitness and volume are completely different, which he will be getting.
And with Fleetwood, you're going to play them a couple of times in quick succession with the Cup as well. What kind of a test do you expect they're going to bring to Hillsborough?
Yeah, real good test. I think we played them. Look at probably the course of not even a month. We'd have played them 3 times, so both teams will have a real good look at each other. But we contested this next one, the second fixture in the league at our place. And on Boxing Day, I thought they were a good, solid outfit and really play on the front foot. I think Scott has got a great structure about them. I think his methods and his dynamics are excellent. And somebody that, at the level where he played in his career, I can see the quality of work that he's done with those players and the way he's maximising the ability out those players. So that's why they're a strong outfit. They've played 13, possibly nearly 14 times away this season. Only lost 3 games on the road and only lost those games by the odd goal. So they're a good team. Playing some good football. They're in good form. I think mentally and physically they'll be in a good spot, and that's why they're real dangerous opponents really, and that's why we've had to make sure that our work's been like any other week, as clean and concentrated as ever, because they're a good test coming into the S6 tomorrow.
Cheers, Darren. The very best of luck.
Thanks, Rob. Good to see you, mate.
Afternoon, Darren. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Joe. Afternoon.
Good stuff. Just want to ask first up, just in terms of a couple of the other injuries, is there anybody else who possibly could be available for this weekend's game?
I think that's it, really. I mean, even probably me, I've lost count really with it, Joe. Really, but no, I think that's the squad, and we just get ready for another important week ahead of us. When we coming to this weekend and roll into next week's games with the fixtures and that. We just focus on here, like, you know, as I said, you know, the boys have trained. We've had another good week of training. Trained today. We've had a good day of training. So we get ready tomorrow.
Excellent. And with Barry, you saw some pictures of him sort of back out on the grass again. Have you got like a? I know you don't like to give specifics, but have you got like an estimate of when you might have Barry back available again?
Yeah, hopefully not too long. But what Baz is just doing now is great to have him back out there. And he's just completing the necessary volume of training that we want to put through him and get through him. But so nice to have him back out there and have his enthusiasm back on the pitch, really. So really pleased.
Are you having to sort of rein him in at all, or is he taking it slow on his own accord?
It's been good, excellent. As I said, you know, I'm really pleased for him, and you know, he's joined in training. He looks ever sharp as ever, Baz, and as I said, you know, we're just giving him the necessary volume, like I said to you, Joe, that we want him to get and what he wants as well, really. So it's been excellent, really. So excellent week again for him as well.
Excellent. And I know you've sort of spoken about Michael Hector, but I just wanted to ask you. You mentioned when we sort of brought up free agents a little while back that it wasn't really something you were looking at because of, you know, the time it takes to get him ready and that kind of thing. Sort of why has that changed with regards to Michael Hector? Is it purely because of just how good a player he is, and possibly because he knows the club as well?
Absolutely. Number one, the level that he's been at, the player that he is, and obviously the opportunity that's arise now, and obviously it's a position that we're looking at. And I did say that, you know, looking at it, it would only be players that we felt could be of value to us at the club in terms of that. And Michael is that. What we are doing, we're very in the early stages of seeing where those levels of fitness levels are, and his strength and conditioning. And I think once you get those, you get like more of get a bit of a report, and you can have more of an insight and have a look, and then make a more decision with it. But yeah, my views don't change in terms of when you're getting players in of a free transfer at this stage. There's a certain amount of window where you've got to get them up to speed, and that can be the same as well, Joe. When you get in a player in on loan from another club, they too may have the training volume, but you've got to get them up to match speed. So you get the same kind of dynamics with those as well, really. So, but we'll focus on this one, and we'll make sure that we tick all the boxes before we move on to the next stage.
You mentioned after the Wickham game that you were focused on making sure you made the right transfers rather than just going out and getting anybody. Now you've got a little bit of an idea on Reece James and George Byers. Do you still feel like the squad is in good shape as it is, even if you weren't to, you know, go out and get 2, 3, 4 players?
Where the squad's at now, in the shape it's in now, with what we've got, the personnel we've got, yes, it is. Where I am concerned with it is the depth in terms of the squad. That's the bit, really, because any more hiccups or injuries would leave us really short. So where we are now, yeah, you know, we'll get on with what we need to get on and keep the focus and keep our mentality going. But certainly, come the end of the window, especially with the other 2 injuries that we've picked up, and sort of getting a balance of that, then we do need to strengthen if it's possible.
You know, when you've got a club the size of Wednesday and a January transfer window comes around, is it tough? Because I'm sure you've got people, it's not just the players you're looking at yourself, it's all the players that are being offered to you as well. Like, yeah. How many phone calls and text messages and all that kind of stuff are you dealing with from agents and people like that? Yeah,
no, it's a lot. And it's demanding, and at this stage, certainly for this month, it's 24/7, Joe, because you have to take the calls, because somebody might be available that can really, really enhance your squad that you didn't maybe not have considered, or you did consider, and they're ringing up to close out the deal. So you have to take the call. Of course, that's time consuming, but if you want that next step, and that and that competition and raise the level of the quality of player in your squad, then you've got to be well adapt in terms of your everyday management and managing the club and getting the team right and trying to win games, as well as looking to boost your squad level. So it is a busy month, and as I said to you, I could show you the phone messages counter, and at the moment that's standing at probably, I'll look here now, Joe, while you're now, and I'll tell you how many missed ones there is. There is 202. So that's where it's at now. Last week it was 200, so I've gone 2 more. It's 202 this week.
How many you missed while you were on the phone to us?
No, I don't. Let's just have a look while we're live on camera. 3 so far.
With that, is it something you enjoy at all, or is it just a means to an end for your squad?
Yeah, no, it's just I understand it's part and parcel of the job, the role, and what you do, you get into a routine with it. You know, you understand it, you get into a routine, so you learn to balance it out really a little bit. So once I've been in today and detailed the squad and everything else, there'll be probably a couple of hours of opportunity now where maybe I'll look to catch up on some of those calls and return back some of those calls, but it can't detract away from or get involved away from your day-to-day work with the players, because ultimately they need you here and now, and you get the window of opportunity. So I look at that as outside of the training hours, which will come after about 3 o'clock today.
Brilliant. I want to touch on sort of the comments made by Gareth Ainsworth after the Wickham game. He was quite adamant about who he thinks is going to win league after that. I know that you like to sort of try and keep out the outside noise, but the comments like that give you a boost, not just for yourself, but for the club in general.
No, I'm thankful for Gareth and his kind words, and for somebody what's been, you know, he's been over a decade at the club, so he sees football, and I think what he's doing at Wickham and how he's built that club and the platform that he's given that club is nothing short of magnificent, and it really is, and that club under his guideship and stewardship has been superb. I always like spending time with Gareth because I get realism from him, I get continuity in terms of his experience, but somebody that we both played against each other as players and we've gone into management, and he's still the consistent person that he is in terms of how he is honest and true. So his words, I'm very thankful for them, and he'll certainly be in the shake-up with his Wickham team as well, because they're a good team. And I said to the boys, we've beaten a good team on their own patch here because of the level of quality of player he's got there. So I expect them to keep coming strong this season, because they always are. But in terms of his words, Joe, for me, it's I hear it, I understand it, but in my professional state, I'm able to pull it in a container or wherever you want to pull it in your mind space and carry on, because you can only do what you're doing, and you guys in the media, anybody outside can only comment on what we're doing, but we still have to continue doing what we're doing, and that's the thing where I can be focused in terms of keeping that and maintaining that level, really, because there's still so much work to be done, because we have to keep improving as a squad, and we got to look to get better, and so it doesn't never stop. There's always something to improve upon, and that's what we seek to try and do week in, week out, really. So that's my mentality.
Excellent. With the pitch at Hillsborough, obviously we're getting to that time of year when the weather starts to take its toll on everything, really. Is the pitch looking all right? Obviously been a lot of freezing over the last few days.
I think so. I think Leighton, our ground staff, tomorrow's game will present the 30th game already at Hillsborough this season, in terms of taking into consideration the under-23s, the youth cup matches, the first team, as well as 6 training sessions. And I think that the pitches, all right, at this stage of the season, all pitches get worn, the grass doesn't grow because it's the time of the year. But in terms of where he's at and what he's doing, of course he's taken a beating. But in terms of where it's at, we understand where it's at, and we're doing all we can to look after it. And I just think the ground staff's done as well as they can. And yeah, I'm happy with the pitch, and it'll be in a playable state tomorrow. And we're really grateful that in this cold snap we've got the undersoil heating in it, which doesn't hinder things like that when the cold weather comes for us at Hillsborough.
And just lastly from me, there was obviously it's quieting down a little bit now with Callum Patterson and the sort of interest from Hearts and that kind of thing. But you know, have you made a decision on him in terms of, if Hearts were to come knocking, is he too important to this team now to even consider letting him go?
Depends what it is, Joe, and that's the thing, is because you know, every single player, and as well as you want to keep players in that, every single player's got his price on his head really in terms of it, so you can never say never. And if I was to say no, then I'm showing my lack of unprofessionalism, because I understand the game and I understand it. Of course you'd want to keep him and maintain here, and at the moment with what he's doing, he's showing that level, but you'll never hear me saying any level of job that he's staying, because I understand that everybody's got their price.
If it was up to you though, you'd keep him around?
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's doing really, really well, and yeah, long may that continue.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time, Darren. I'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers. Thanks.
Darren, how you doing? You alright?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Alex.
Good stuff. Good stuff. In terms of Reece, obviously with George being 50-50, but what exactly is the early prognosis? What's the injury that he's done?
It's his ankle, but it's too swollen to see, Alex, so that's why I can't really give too much. But it's his ankle, but there's large swelling around the ankle, so we got to let that reduce before we can really get a real prognosis on it, really.
And I know you sort of clarified this a couple of weeks ago, that there's absolutely no chance, even given injury, that he'd be going back to Blackpool before the month's out. Is that sort of signed and sealed that he's staying put?
Yeah, no, he's signed and sealed with us, so he's here, which we're pleased. And as I said, when we get through these next few weeks with him, hopefully the prognosis won't be that long. But as I said, he's here till the end of the season.
Good stuff. Good stuff. It's been touched on before, but with the money, particularly the Ipswich are spending, there's some money in this league now. How different is it in terms of approach of clubs to maybe the one that you played in and the one that you first came to with Doncaster?
Yeah, no, the money's there, but the league's always changed. I said, you know, when I joined and I came here a few seasons ago, and I said League One will never be the same because of the level of the clubs, what's in there, the so-called level of clubs in the pyramid of football, where some of our clubs have been in League One. You know, you're talking with clubs in here that's been at the highest level this country has in the league, and we're applying our trade in League One, which is the third tier football. As you can see in the media, what some teams are spending in here has been highly documented, really, in terms of the figure, the prices, the level of player, and it shows the level of League One, the standard of football in League One, the level of coaches and managers in League One. Everything's gone up tenfold in League One from when I first knew it. But it's great for League One in terms of what it is, and it's a great advert in League One. And as you saw this season, there's teams in League One that have, in the cup competitions, have beaten teams above the level above us in cup competitions when we've been pitted together. So it goes to show you the competitiveness of the league, but it's great. I think it's great for all connected at it, that and the outside what you deem League One to be. I bet it's very, very different competing in it week in, week out.
Well, why do you think, just to dwell on it a little bit, why do you think that standard has gone up? Because there's always been, or maybe the last 20 years, you know, Leeds have been down there, Forest have been down there, Wednesday have been down there twice. There's always been big clubs. Why do you think now the money's come in, and maybe, as you say, the standard of the league in general's gone up?
Well, obviously that's a knock-on from the very highest league, from the Premier League, and obviously there's a drop out of the Premier League to the Championship, and if you don't quite get it right, there's a drop out of the Championship into League One, and then all of a sudden, you know, we all wake up, and then all of a sudden there's that real level of competition. But we know that this league for reputation doesn't matter a jot really in terms of what your historical size and nature of the club. It doesn't matter really. It's about staying consistent and proving yourselves over a course of time to warrant yourself to be up there. So that's why what this league presents. This league presents as well, where you're probably more consistent at the other two levels in the Premier and the Championship, where there's certain system setups and you know what you're coming against in terms of a setup. This league's very different. There's a different setup really in terms of teams that want to probably get the ball down and play, teams that want to get the ball and play a percentage game. So there's a very, very different in level at League One, which always tests you from week in, week out really. So yeah, and that's the hurdles and the pitfalls that's in this league, that you have to be absolutely spot on in terms of your focus, spot on in terms of your mentality, and your focus in terms of preparing for games, and that's why it's the old added cliche for me, it's one game at a time, or what I consider doing is just turn the page and it's on to the next one.
Good stuff. In terms of Michael, how much is it ever part of your consideration that a player is a popular figure at a club? You know, that Michael signing would give a boost to the fans, you know, who said is important. Is that part of your thinking at all, or is it just purely football?
Purely football first and foremost. It has to be. It has to be a fit for the team. It has to coincide with the balance of the squad. Looking at the defensive positions, there may be or call upon a need to reinforce that area simply because of the injuries. And he fits that. He's a quality player. As I said, as a manager before, I've seen him play against my teams. So when the opportunity is there for me to have a real good look at him, this is exactly what I'm doing, because there's potentially an opportunity and a space in the team to fill that. He's a good player. He's a good man. We believe there's a platform for him here to display those talents. Everybody here at Wednesday have seen those talents and could probably understand why I'm looking at him at this stage. But as I said, we're looking at the volume, then you got the match data in terms of that, because all those aspects have to take into consideration at this stage, which is very, very important.
Something about Jamaican centre halves, eh? There's a link to be made there somewhere, I'm sure. I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, but is it at all possible that Wednesday get to the 1st of February without having made an addition? I know you're pretty relaxed about things, but you know the fact is that you're two bodies lighter, aren't you?
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. And, you know, working extremely hard to add to that. But yeah, the truth of the matter is we are two bodies lighter. And I did say to you that come the end of the window, we want to make sure that we're in that stronger position than we are. And that's why I'll always keep speaking like that up until the 1st of February. When we get to the 1st of February, we'll see where we are then. But up until now, it's about being competitive, staying consistent, keeping focused, and making sure we're putting all our energies into the next fixture, which is the one tomorrow. And then any of the other bits off the field, then myself, the recruitment team, chairman knows all about those situations, but also at that time as well, there's so many factors that need to marry into that to make it happen. There's so many. And we understand that's football and the industry of football.
The chairman's someone that will remember and know Michael to some extent. Is he? Have you spoken to him about that potential move, and what was his reaction to it all?
Yeah, no, it's an opportunity for him to come in, and it's very early, so he's pretty relaxed about it. And the chairman really relaxed about the situation, because we know in football, as close as things may seem, there's so much red tape in it really in terms of it. So I think the best is remain calm about it, let the process happen, and as and when we need to talk, we'll talk. But there's a process what needs to happen, and it's happening at the moment. So there's no need to really get above ourselves or ahead of ourselves really.
I've got to check. Is Michael the only free agent that's in the building, or?
Yeah, there's at the moment Michael's in and that's it really, and then we got another younger lad in there, but we just on trial because it presents the opportunity for us to have a look really, and that's it really.
Cool. A couple of quick fire ones. Yes or no? If I offered you second place now, would you take it?
If you offered me second place,
Yeah.
would I take it now?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No.
Good man, good man. Josh said the same thing a few minutes ago. And finally, Eubank or Smith?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to the fight. My heart says Smith. My heart says Smith.
Josh said Eubank, so...
I know. Yeah.
Close one thing. Top man, cheers, Darren.
Cheers, Alex.
Hi Darren, you okay?
Yeah, good, thanks, Ricky.
Good stuff. Just in terms of the squad depth, I know you're talking to Joe about it there. Obviously George and Reece, if they're not available tomorrow, plus Mark and Alex going back, will you have to kind of dip into the 23s to fill the bench tomorrow?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Like I said, which we're not really sort of foreign or alien to in terms of that, because we've showcased that. We've had younger players within the squad, and young Rio's made his league debut, which we've seen already. So it's part and parcel of utilising the squad, but also at the same time, Ricky, like we said about integrating these promising young players in and around the first team and getting them exposed to their first team environment. And as you've seen in Rio's case, he's already made his league debut.
Just in terms of Michael Hector, is it kind of the perfect storm, this scenario? You know, he's someone that knows the club. He's a centre half, which you know you're in need of. And also, are you surprised that he doesn't have a club?
Yeah, surprised from going back to front that he's not got a club. Yes, it's great that he's had past history at the football club, so he knows it. And for somebody of his stature and quality, for him to come back to us, I think with him previously being here and knows the platform of the club, and he's still got one or two people here that he still knows, I think those have been contributing factors in us having this opportunity with him. So, as I said, it's great to have him, great to see him, and it'd be good for me to cast my eye on him in close proximity at the training ground.
Just in terms of his schedule and workload, would he be someone that's able to, obviously under 23s I think I've got a game next week, is that a bit too early for him, or would he be able to be gradually eased into it like that?
Yeah, I think what we'll do first, Ricky, before we start looking at any games with him, we want to do our own testing and data on him, which we will do. And I think once we get that from him, I think we'll be in a bit better position to make calculated decisions on him and work with him cooperative in terms of what we think in terms of where he's at. But it's so pleasing to have him here and training with us. And as I said, from first impressions in terms of where he's at physically and that, then I'm very pleased.
I suppose if obviously it's a way off yet, but if you can get him up to fitness and back to the standards that he showed not too long ago, because obviously he was part of Fulham's team, wasn't he, to get promoted to the Premier League, so you'd have a hell of a player on your hands if you can get him back up to those kind of levels.
Yes, and you're absolutely right, Ricky, in terms of it, and that's why we feel here with those decisions early on, we've got to look at those and take those into consideration. But there's no doubt in his level, there's no doubt in what he can bring, potentially, should it all work out. But as I said, very early stages yet, and I'm not going to get too ahead of myself.
Just in terms of new signings, I remember Gary Megson, obviously someone that you'll know well from your West Brom days. When he was the Wednesday manager, he once said that when he agreed to sign a player, he'd take him to the back of the Kop, right up to the top, up the steps, and look at the pitch and make them understand how big a club Wednesday is and what the responsibility is to play for them. Do you kind of get that? obviously I'm not saying you do that with your potential signings, but you kind of get that. You have to kind of look into the whites of their eyes and see, can they manage and can they cope playing for this club?
Again, Ricky, what a great question. And I'm going to give you the answer to it. You're absolutely right. To play for Sheffield Wednesday and play in front of the passionate support base and the expectancy of the supporters down there, not just any player can play there. You've got to be made of stern stuff, thick stuff, and have a real sense of self-confidence. So when recruiting players in, I've had to look at that and consider that, because certainly in the first early parts of my managerial career here, I saw maybe one or two wane under that pressure, which is understandable because it's not easy. Some can embrace it, some can't handle it really. So when recruiting the right player, as good as it is to come and play down at the S6 in front of there's an expectancy, and which for all of us here, that's here now, connected, we love, and it's a real wonderful driver. But certainly for some players that has put the shirt on at this club, we've seen that pressure get the better of them. So when I'm recruiting, there is that taken into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, there's quite a lot of players out of contract at the end of the season. Has that been put on the back burner? All those kind of issues. Is the club kind of not looking at that, or are those talks ongoing with any players?
Yeah, no, we just, as I said, Ricky, a few weeks ago, that all our players here are contracted, whether they be the end of the season or beyond, and that's all we're just doing as a group of players and a team, in terms of making sure that we want to be giving the best account of themselves, staying consistency with their level of performance and their games, and I think if they stay at the forefront of their game and the level of their performance, I think come the end of the season, the contracts take care of themselves. And I think that's always been the driver for the players, and long may that continue. It's about, getting on the pitch and performing at their best ability and at the level. And that's what they're challenged with every single day, to be the best version of themselves in training. And if you can consistently do that in training, then it will come consistently on a Saturday, where you're pushing yourselves to the level and beyond in terms of your performances that's required for the football club. So I think if they're doing that and showing that on a consistent basis, then come the end of the season, I think contractual talks and everything else just takes care of themselves.
Obviously, the run you're on at the minute, it's 14 unbeaten in the league, something like 1 defeat in 19. I think that was by way of the penalties at Southampton. So have you been on a better run than this, either as a manager or a player?
I'd have to look back, because obviously, certainly as a player, I managed to experience 5 promotions. So within that, over the course of the season, you must have had to put winning runs together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it does feel in a little bit of sense like that. But in terms of a manager, as a player, you look at it differently. Me as a manager, Ricky, it's it really is. I can't give you the sense of how I feel inside, but it is literally on to the next one and turn the page and staying consistent in my work and how can we get better? What do we need? What's the opposition we're coming against? What's the strengths and the weaknesses they propose? And we've got to try and get the better of them in that department. So there's always a consistent work, and my work never stops and stands still. It's always on to the next one. So I suppose the job demands that, really, and the commitment that I have towards the job demands it. So every single week I feel my mind's never in a state where it's still. It's always on the move, because there's always things to improve on, and there's always different hurdles for you to overcome in that week. So, and that's why it's consistently you're on the move.
And obviously a busy week ahead. First 3-game week of the year, presents different challenges, doesn't it? Long trip down to Cheltenham, Fleetwood twice. Obviously, how do you kind of manage that 3-game week with the issues we've talked about with the squad depth?
Yeah, and that's the thing and that's why I look at you know, with the squad in terms of, because without a doubt that these 3 games over the course of from now till next weekend will present the squad with a different challenge, but the different challenge that it will present it with is within numbers. So certainly, Ricky, hopefully I'll speak to you at this time next week and I won't have suffered any more knocks or injuries, and I've still got the squad intact. And if we can keep that, then great, happy days. But that's probably the biggest challenge that presents itself with the squad over the next sort of 7 days.
Good stuff. Good luck tomorrow, Darren.
Cheers, Ricky. Good to see you. Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.